Hello there, YouTube. Well, we're back again for another episode, I guess you could call it, of Ask Branden. I'm happy to be back here, and I'm ready for a new and interesting topic. Now, I do know that we were scheduled to talk about online education today. That is the topic on the syllabus. However, as has become my habit, I am changing the topic because I received an interesting letter, and I thought that it would be a good subject to study, and we can learn new words while doing it. So let's get started with that. So today's letter is about workplace issues. Now, if you've ever worked in an office or whatever your workplace setting, no doubt you have to work with other people. And when people work together, there could be problems. There could be personality differences, right? Not everybody gets along. Okay. Some people are extremely difficult to get along with. And if you are especially unlucky, that person could turn out to be your boss. So hopefully that doesn't happen to you. But anyway, we're going to talk about that. So it is good to see you all today, and I'm taking a look at the comments right here. Hello, everyone. So I'm glad to see everyone is back. Good. So yeah, let's get right to it. Alrighty there. So workplace disputes. Now we're going to talk about this, but we also have a backup topic, just in case we get done with this letter too fast. I also learned about an interesting news article that talks about a disturbing trend, actually fraud, scams with online dating apps. So I don't know if we're going to get to that, but it's there. It's there if we need it. Always interesting to talk about, right? So there's today's schedule. Alrighty. So as I said before, the reality is that you may be required to interact with other people at work. And yeah, ideally it would go smoothly, but that is not always the case, is it? Sometimes things do not go ideally. I've always found this meme entertaining. Every group project. So we have the guy on the left does 99% of the work. The guy in the middle has no idea what's going on the whole time. Okay. The guy next to him says he's going to help, but he actually does not. And then finally the guy on the far right, he disappears at the very beginning and doesn't show until the very end. So the reality is that things are not like this all the time where everybody is interacting smoothly, but there could be an uneven distribution of work. And when this happens, it could cause feelings of resentment. If you did most of the work for your group, how would you feel if the other group members took credit for your hard work? Well, understandably, it may make you feel not good. So in this sort of situation, what do you do? How do you handle the situation? Okay. So I thought we can consider some questions before we read today's letter. Let me go over them with you. Question number 1. Do you enjoy working with other people? Next, are you a team player? So a team player is just someone who works well with other people. Okay? A team player. If you ever go on a job interview, they want to know that you're a team player. You'll often hear this term used in job interviews because all employers want a team player for their employee. Next, what kind of people do you hate working with? Now, hate is a strong word. I think I've heard people use it too much. Perhaps, what kind of people do you dislike working with or would rather not work with? Okay. Have you ever observed a workplace dispute? So a dispute can be something like an argument. Basically an argument. There are bad feelings. There's a disagreement. a dispute. We'll talk more about that. The letter that we're going to read today has to do with the workplace dispute. Next, what do you like most about your job? Okay, so now's the time to say something positive. So this may be a good change. What would you like to change about your job? Okay, so we first talk about something positive, and then we talk about something we don't like too much, something we may want to change. Okay, so think about these questions. I will answer first, sort of give you some ideas about how to answer, and then I want to hear your idea. Okay, so this is my answer. Yes, I enjoy working with other people because I like socializing with my coworkers in the office. I don't usually get the chance to talk to other native speakers. Really, I don't. My coworkers are some of the only native speakers I know, English speakers I know in Korea. So it's nice to chat with my coworkers every once in a while. We can talk about social issues, exchange ideas about life. This is nice, you know, human nature. We like socializing. I like it too. However, when it comes to work, I would rather work on projects alone. This is just my personal preference. Sometimes working with other people, I don't know, it seems to take more mental energy. It also goes faster if I just do something all by myself rather than waiting for other people to do their part. So this is my personal work preference, you know, it is what it is. Next question. Are you a team player? Okay, I have to admit, not really. I don't typically enjoy working in groups, but it depends on the situation, okay? For example, when I was in school, especially a university, high school, I didn't like group projects. And the reason why is because there's always those people who don't do their share of the work, and others have to pick up the slack. This is one of the words we'll be learning today. Pick up the slack. So make up for the deficiency. That's what that means. That said, you know, fast forwarding to today, I work at CUFS. You know, many of you are students at the Saibor University of Foreign Studies. I work here, and I am delighted to say that when it comes to creating classes and content, this has to be done collaboratively. And we work together when we create new classes at CUFS. I enjoy this process because my coworkers are awesome, okay? So I'm happy that I can say that. I honestly have no complaints. But generally, naturally, am I a team player? Maybe not so much. Next question. What kind of people do you hate working with? Okay, so I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't like working with people who gossip or spread rumors behind my back. I hate that. Doesn't make me feel good. And yeah, I can be a little frustrated. I don't like working with people who cause drama for no reason. Drama, what does that mean? Well, when someone is a drama queen, or that's one expression, when somebody, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't matter a man or a woman. When someone causes drama, that means they take something that isn't a very big deal. It's a really small thing, and they turn it into a big deal. They really do. Like if someone's 15 minutes late to work one day. Oh, blah, 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 blah. You know, I can't believe they're doing this. It doesn't have to be a big deal, guys. Just let it go. Not to say that I'm late. I'm never late. Okay. Next, have you ever experienced workplace disputes? Okay, so, all right, so this is a little bit of a sensitive topic because it's, you know, I don't want to make anyone feel bad all the time. You know, this is just natural situation. I have so many stories, I don't know where to begin. I'll give you one example. When I taught English at a high school several years ago, we encountered a problem due to a lack of communication. Some teachers were grading the students' essays very easily, giving out too many A's. Other teachers would be stricter with their grades. So somehow the students found out, and of course they complained, And rightfully so, because the students realized that the people in the other class were getting higher grades than their class just because of the way the teacher was grading. And really, this came down to a lack of communication. It caused a huge dispute in the English department at the time. Okay, so that's my experience. I want to hear your experience. Workplace disputes. Last one, I think. What do you like most about your job? So, yeah, I like working at Cuffs. I love that the job allows me to work independently a lot of the time. When I create a new class, I get a sense of achievement when it is successful, when it gets high evaluations. I feel like my hard work has paid off. So I like this about my job. Yeah, I like my job. Okay, oh, this is the last question. What would you change about your job? Well, the office computer, very slow. I can barely do anything on it. So, yeah, if I could, I would change that. All right. So, yeah, so now it's your turn. There, we have these questions here. And what I'll do is I'll copy and paste these questions in the chat box so we can talk about them together. Yeah. All right. So the first two questions. Oh, let me change the camera. It's always easier to talk to someone when you can see their face. So I want to be approachable. Good, good. All right, and I see here we have some comments. Guys, thank you very much. I do appreciate it because the more you comment, the easier it is for me. You know, I love the interaction. Okay, good, good. Hello, everyone. Good to see you today. And yeah. So the first two questions. Do you enjoy working with other people, and are you a team player? Mm-hmm. I hear one person say that Koreans work hard, and I do agree that Koreans do work really hard, especially when it comes to hours. They work a lot of hours. Now, I think that your work hours, at least traditionally, are less fixed than Americans, but Americans also work hard. They're hard workers. In comparison to the Europeans, I heard that the Europeans don't work as much as Americans and Koreans do. So, yeah. So I think that the top is Koreans. You guys do the most hours on average. Then America, then, you know, Europe. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Jongdaewon76, make something big out of nothing. I'm sure you've encountered someone like that, haven't you? Someone who makes something big out of nothing. Yeah. Okay, so thanks for your comment, Luna. You say that you used to enjoy working with other people, but because you like listening to the ideas of other people. Okay, good. But sometimes, yeah, you don't like that too. When they talk behind your back, it can be burdensome. Yeah, difficult. All right. Jenny says, I love working with people. I don't like working alone. Okay. Because you learn more from others and the job is done very fast. And Jenny, I think you make a great point. When you delegate, when responsibilities are delegated to several people, then a big task, a big project can be broken down to many little pieces, right? And that'll make things go by faster. And if you don't know how to do something, you can ask for help. You can get knowledge from other people. So very good points. Thanks for that. Yeah. All right, so N says, I thought I was not a team player, but after getting a job, I found some antisocial people, like they have schizophrenia. So now I can, now you think you're a team player. So I think what you're saying is you used to think that you were not that good at teamwork, but then you got a new job and you met some people who were really not good with teamwork, and it made you realize that, hey, I'm not so bad after all. I'm not so bad. Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at the two next questions. I'll copy them here. Alrighty, so the questions are, what kind of people do you hate working with? And have you ever observed a workplace dispute? Okay. Workplace dispute. So while you're thinking about it, let me think of another example. I can talk about this because it was so long ago. I was like 19 years old. So let's see. In the past, I used to work at a hotel. It was one of my first jobs. I used to be a bellboy. And the workplace dispute was because one of the front desk staff, one of the ladies who worked there, actually started a relationship with one of the other bellboys. And, you know, it's just something happened. I don't know. It's private. I didn't ask any questions. But, yeah, they got into a relationship and it ended, and things were very awkward. Even though they worked together, they refused to talk to each other. And it just made things awkward. So yeah, workplace relationships, I don't know how common they are, but I saw it back then, and it can definitely cause some disputes. All right. Oh, thanks. Yeah, Jenny, thanks for agreeing. I thanks for agreeing with me. Yeah, working alone. Yeah. It's sometimes, yeah, it's easier, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's easier. Mm. Good, good. Luna says, I don't like working with people who don't try at all. Okay. Yeah, right, right. So you would think that people who don't pull their own weight, and that's another one we're going to learn later, people who don't carry their own, who don't handle their own responsibilities, you would think, hey, they're just going to get fired. But the reality is that people don't get fired easily in some fields, right? I heard that if you're ever a government worker, it's pretty hard to get fired from that job, right? So depending on what job you have, you could have people who are real slackers, but they never get fired. And that can be unfair. It can make you feel bad. Yeah. Oh, Jongdaewon, great point. People who take all the credit. So one thing that I've noticed is, yeah, some superiors will designate all their responsibilities to their underlings, right? And then they will take credit for all the achievements with the boss that's above them. So, yeah, not giving credit where credit's due, that is a huge problem. Mm-hmm. All right, so N says, I hate cherry pickers. They don't make value, they just take all benefits. Okay. Cherry pickers. I'm actually not familiar with that term, cherry picker. If you can elaborate on what you mean by that, that'd be great. Yeah. By the way, guys, if you hear some sound, it's probably the rain. It's raining pretty hard, and I hear it in my house, so bear with me here. Yeah, I agree with Jenny too. It's hard to work with people who make too much excuses to avoid responsibility. It really is hard, right? Yeah, when they make excuses. It's also kind of annoying. Let's take a look at the other last two questions. Let's see what we got here. Mm-hmm. The next two questions are, what do you like most about your job, and what would you change about your job if you could? So, yeah, I mentioned changing the computer, but there's always things that we wish we could change, right? Yeah. I know some of you are going to say salary. We want to change our salary. Of course, all of us want to make more money, don't we? All of us do. Oh, so, and you're explaining it to me. Cherry pickers eat only the cherry. They don't. So they eat the cherry, but they don't do the work of obtaining the cherry, of obtaining it, of getting it. So other people do everything. And that is not fair. I know. I've been in that situation before. It doesn't feel good. Yeah. Okay, guys. So at this point, I'm going to move on to the letter. But please, if you have more to say about those questions, ask questions or say more, and I will get back to you later. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Okay. Let's change this. Moving over to the PPT again. Okay. So, yes, we start out. Dear Professor Noland, that's me. I'm writing to ask you about a situation at work. I am the senior member of my department. Excuse me. Therefore, the responsibility of training new employees falls on my shoulders. Recently, our company hired someone who has a track record of incompetence. We'll call her Jane. So Jane isn't her real name, but we'll just call her that. She is one of those people who doesn't want to go the extra mile and expects someone else to pick up the slack. Okay, so there's an employee who this person is dissatisfied with. Sometimes our customers complain because Jane gives them incorrect information or does not respond properly. When I try to remind her of the company procedures, she gives me a blank, confused look, as though everything I just said was way over her head. I know she's not stupid. Wow, strong words here. I know she's not stupid. She just pretends to not know what's going on because she doesn't want to take her job seriously. She doesn't take her job seriously. She's never on top of things. I don't feel like I can rely on her. One time I asked her if she read an email that was recently sent out. She said she just skimmed it. Okay, but you got the gist, right? She didn't respond. It was clear that she didn't really read the email. For all I know, she didn't even open it. In this situation, she will either not say anything or offer a half-hearted excuse. She has so many excuses for her shortcomings that they are hard to follow. I can tell by the tone of her voice that she is not sincere at all. Okay, so also it seems like Jane has an attitude problem. She is not sincere, half-hearted. Now, I'm not one to beat around the bush. I told her directly that if she wants to work here, she'd better pull herself together. The only problem that is that I don't technically have the authority to fire her. Only the CEO can make that call. Okay, so, yes, there's some problem here. I talked to the CEO, and guess what? He berated me over the way I've been treating Jane. He told me to cut her some slack. She's new. My only option at this point is to hope that Jane just quits by herself. I've done everything I can to make her life uncomfortable. I've gone out of my way to criticize her every mistake and blame her every time she gets under my skin. She hasn't quit yet, but she's broken down in tears a few times in the office. That's a start. Oh no, maybe this is going too far. Going too far, dude. Some people say that I'm being too hard on her. Suddenly I'm the bad guy. Give me a break. If everyone pulled their weight around here, there wouldn't be a problem. Does anyone have a better idea? I am not going to share my name because I know some people will hate me, but I am open to constructive criticism. Thanks in advance, Anonymous. So, quite understandably, this person did not share their name, and yeah, probably because you may disagree with how they're handling the situation. I know I do. Okay. So, guys, I want you to think about how you would respond. What advice would you give this person? What do you think about the writer? What do you think about Jane? So at this point, just think about it. Don't answer yet, because I know, guys, this is a huge letter, and I know that it's a lot to take in. So what we're going to do is take this paragraph by paragraph, sentence by sentence, word by word, to make sure that you understand the main points. So think about it. We'll come back to that later. If you can, just take a moment and skim this passage. Try to get the main idea. Try to get the gist of it. Okay, so we start out. Looks like this person is the senior member of their department, and there is someone named Jane who works at the same company, and Jane doesn't have good work performance, according to this person. She doesn't handle the customers correctly. She's never on top of things. She seems incompetent. She doesn't pay close attention to detail. What makes it worse is she has an attitude problem too, and she offers too many excuses. So that's the problem with Jane. On the other hand, the person writing this letter seems to be a little extreme. He or she's made Jane cry. Jane has cried in the office. So a few weeks ago we talked about workplace bullying, and could this be the sign of a bully when you make someone else cry? Is this ever okay? Let's think about this. Okay. So we're going to look at some new vocabulary that we saw in the letter, and all these words are useful, very useful. We use them all the time in business English, so I thought it would be good. Word number 1, fall on one's shoulders. So we use this word to show that one receives responsibility or obligation. The writer says, I'm the senior member of my department. Therefore, the responsibility of training new employees is given to me. The responsibility falls on my shoulders. It's my job. If you are a teacher, some of the responsibility for your students' success, okay, how can we complete this sentence? Going 1, going 2, going 3. Some of the responsibility falls on your shoulders to make sure your kids are working and they're learning. Track record. A record of past performance. Track record. Recently, our company hired someone who has a track record of incompetence. We'll call her Jane. Okay, track record. Okay, so a record of performance. So this means Jane has a history of incompetence. It means the same thing. Sorry guys, I hope this isn't offensive if I use American politics. Trump. What can we say about Trump? Well, I know we can say that he had a track record of posting controversial statements on Twitter. He was banned from Twitter. There must have been a reason. So, yeah, so many people had a problem with what he said. He had a track record of this. Going the extra mile. If you go beyond what is necessary or expected of you, you are going the extra mile. So the writer says that Jane is not one of those people who want to go the extra mile. Okay. She expects someone else to pick up the slack, to take up the responsibility on her behalf. That's not good. So she doesn't want to put effort into her work. If your employees are satisfied with their job and feel respected, they are motivated to go above and beyond. They want to go the extra mile. So this is something we use all the time. Once again, if you're in a job interview, you may hear this word used at some point. We're looking for someone who's going to go the extra mile. We're looking for a team player. Very common. Pick up the slack. Okay, so Jane expects someone else to pick up the slack, to do an extra amount of work that someone else is unable or unwilling to do. So pick up the slack. Think of a soccer team. If your best player is injured, what can you do? Well, the other players will have to pick up the slack, will have to take up the responsibility, compensate for his injury. Good. Way over one's head. So you use this when something happens that's beyond your comprehension, beyond one's ability to understand. When something is too difficult for you to understand, it is over your head. A story from personal experience. When I was in high school, I couldn't understand calculus. It was over my head. Take something seriously. When you don't take something seriously, you treat it as though it is not important. So the writer says that Jane pretends to not know what's going on because she doesn't take the job seriously. So really, it's coming down to an attitude problem. She doesn't care about the job. She believes the job is beneath her. Question: which sentence is incorrect? Okay, give you a moment to think about it. Well, the question is 4. The answer is 4. That's incorrect. Just simply grammatically, it's incorrect. But what about these other options? They all mean slightly different things. Number 1, I'm just joking. Don't take it seriously. So this means don't be offended by what I just said. 2, hey, this is important. You should take it seriously. You should treat this situation like it's important. 3, don't take yourself too seriously. This means you should not think of yourself too highly, or you will be offended too easily. Okay, you should accept that you are not a perfect person and laugh at yourself sometimes. So as you can see here, don't take something seriously is very versatile. There are many ways to use this expression, and it's very common. I suggest that you may want to study it. On top of something. If you're on top of something, this means that you are in control of it, you're fully informed about it, you're paying close attention to it. So she's never on top of things. I don't feel like I can rely on her. So what does this mean? It means that she doesn't know what's going on at work. All right, so hopefully you've never had a teacher like this. If you have a teacher who has a hard time answering student questions, he is not on top of his subject, is he? He is not on top of things. Okay. To skim something. This means to look over it really fast without paying close attention to details. So to read something fast. Jane says she just skimmed it, so she didn't look at it closely. What about you? Skim the letter. Did you skim the letter? What were the main ideas? So don't read it word for word. Skim it really fast. Yeah, very common expression here. Gist. Did you get the gist of it? Did you get the main ideas? So think about, you're with a group of students and somebody asks you, did you read the article? And you could respond, I didn't really have time. I just skimmed it this morning. Don't worry, I got the gist of it. So I got the gist of it means I got the main ideas. We use this all the time in spoken English. So yeah, it's really good to know. Okay, here's one that may be a little tricky. For all I know. Okay, so most of you are going to be familiar with the term "as far as I know." Very common. I hear people saying this. For all I know is similar, but it has a special meaning. For all I know means that we are uncertain about something. So we often use this expression when we are proposing a hypothetical situation. Let's take some examples. So we're looking at the difference of "as far as I know" and "for all I know." Okay, so take this example. Jamie, oh, look at this guy. Look at this guy. What's wrong with him? Jamie has a headache. I wonder if he's getting sick. The other person could say, for all I know, he is just hungover from partying too much last night. So in this case, it's a speculation. You have no way of knowing this. So you're proposing something without any proof. Okay, it's a speculation. Now, what if you were to say, as far as I know, he is just hungover from partying too much? Well, if you say as far as I know, that means you're speaking based on information that you received. Maybe he told you something. So as far as I know means that the statement is based on more concrete information. So it's good to know the difference between the two. Hard to follow, difficult to keep track of. So if we think of the idea of Jane, she's giving so many excuses that they're hard to follow. It causes information overload. All right, so think of this guy. He's nervous. He was so nervous during his presentation. He spoke way too fast. It was really hard to understand him. It was really hard to understand. What else can we say here? How can we change the sentence so that it's more natural or it has the same meaning? Okay, 1, 2, 3. It was really hard to follow. Okay, so this is good to know. Good to know. Good to practice. Beat around the bush. When someone says beat around the bush, it means that they don't want to speak indirectly. Excuse me. When someone beats around the bush, it means that they don't speak directly because they're afraid of how the other person might react. That's a typo. That's a typo. It should be directly. Okay, so let's take a look at this example here. Take a look. I'm not one to beat around the bush. What does this mean? Well, that means that he speaks directly. He doesn't speak in an indirect manner. So, I'm asking you a question. If you have issues in your relationship, do you beat around the bush? Well, hopefully not. You probably want to speak directly about your problems. Okay, good to know. Make the call. Make the call. So we're not talking about a telephone call here. We're talking about making a decision about something. The writer says only the CEO can make that call. So only the CEO has the authority to fire Jane, and he decided not to do it, as you might recall. If you're a parent, many of you are a parent, you have a lot of decisions to make. You may need to decide whether you will allow your children to hang out with their friends late at night. What's another way we could say this? As a parent, you may need to make the call on whether you will allow your children to go out late at night. Make the call. Make the decision. Cut someone some slack. Okay, so this means to give someone a break, to be more lenient with someone. So the boss told the writer to cut Jane some slack because she's new. So think about this kid here. I think it's kind of ridiculous looking. But if you have a kid on a leash, if you cut them some slack, it means you give them more freedom, right? So slack means that something is not held tightly. It's loose. It's limp. So if the kid has a longer string, if they have more slack, then they have more freedom to move around. Go out of one's way. So here's where the letter starts getting a little hairy. The writer goes out of their way to criticize Jane's mistake, to blame her every time she gets under his skin. So when you go out of your way, you take the initiative. So when you want to get a new job, you go out of your way to look for job postings, to apply, to send your resume out. You have to go out of your way. You can't just expect these things to come to you. Go out of one's way. Okay, and get under your skin. What do you think this means? Okay, think about it. 1, 2, 3. All right, so this means to let someone annoy you, to let someone bother you. When someone gets under your skin, they annoy you very much. To be too hard on someone. This means to treat someone in an overly harsh or strict way. So, some people say that I'm being too hard on her. I'm being unreasonable. Think about this puppy. Oh, so cute. I want a dog someday. Oh, they're so cute. But he's been a naughty puppy, hasn't he? What has he done? He's gone there and defecated on the floor. So one person says, the puppy went to the bathroom inside my house, so I hit it with a stick. Oh, so poor. Don't you think you're too harsh? Don't you think you were too hard on it? Too hard on it? Too strict? Yeah, oh, poor dog. To pull one's weight. This means to do things that one should be doing as part of a group of people who are working together. So if you're ever in a group project, you want to pull your own weight. If you're in a relationship, you want to pull your own weight, because if one person is doing more work, or if one person is committing more to the relationship, then it will cause some friction. Pull your weight. What happens if one employee doesn't pull their weight? Well, the other employees will have to pick up the slack, and that is not fun. So it'll cause some resentment. Pull their own weight. Hopefully that makes sense. Moving on. Oh, what am I saying? It's the end. It's the end. So, oh my goodness. So at this point, I have talked a lot. I'm going to let you guys talk a little bit. I want to hear what you say. Hopefully I didn't talk too much. So let's consider these two questions together. What advice would you give this person? What do you think about the writer? What do you think about Jane? I want to hear what you say first, and then I will tell you what I think. Okay? All right, let me just copy and paste these questions in the chat box. All right, and I'm so pleased to see that there are some comments. Thanks, guys. I do appreciate it. The questions are, once again, what advice would you give to this person, and what do you think about the writer? What do you think about Jane? So let's look at some of the comments we've had so far. Oh, Luna, it's great to hear that you like your job. Yeah. Oh, yeah, so it sounds like you may be a freelancer, right? So you don't just have one job, you have many jobs, kind of like a freelancer thing. So that is nice because you get to be your own boss. You get to make your own schedule. But as you said here, being a salaried employee, it's simple. You don't need to think about too many things. So there are pros and cons no matter what situation you have. Jenny says, I really appreciate that I have a job in this COVID era. You know, I have to admit, I'm also very appreciative. I'm very thankful that I have a job right now, because so many people have a hard time. Yeah, I agree, Jenny. Thanks for that. Yeah. So Alice says, I hate this kind of people. I hate this kind of people. Are you talking about Jane or are you talking about the writer? Because I think both of them have some points where we may criticize. Yeah. Okay, so Jenny says that she feels the writer treats her too harshly. Hmm. Yeah, I agree. She might need some time to adjust to her new workplace. Everything must be new to her. Yeah, and I think the fact that the writer cries in the office is a sign that there may be a toxic workplace atmosphere going on there. Absolutely. Yeah, as a rule, if I feel upset, no, let me backtrack. If I feel like I don't want to go into the office, if I wake up in the morning and I shiver in distaste because I have to go to work, then that's a good sign that maybe this isn't for me, or maybe the workplace environment is toxic and you may have to sometimes wonder if the problem is you or is the problem where you work. So think about that. Hmm. Okay, so Jenny suggests that the writer should help her. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, help her a little bit. Yeah, to be honest, guys, the writer doesn't seem like a very pleasant person. I mean, we've all encountered people like Jenny who have an attitude problem, who, for whatever reason, are incompetent, but the writer doesn't seem very pleasant, do they? So, sorry, writer, if you're listening to this, you asked for constructive criticism, and we're just trying to help you out. So, don't worry. You're not an evil person, but there may be some things that you can work on. Okay, so don't be offended. Just listen. Okay, yeah, she needs to be taught. Okay, so N says, I saw a person who was like Jenny in the past, and everyone had to pick up the slack and worked overtime. Yeah, that can cause some resentment. Absolutely. Every time we send him to another team, oh, so eventually we sent him to another team since we couldn't fire him. Yeah, it seems like it's in some jobs it is really hard to get fired. And I don't know if this is true, but I'm just throwing this out there. It seemed like in America it was easier to fire people than in Korea. The hardest part is getting the job. It is so hard to get a job. But once you have the job, a lot of times you can just slack off and keep it. So I don't know. Maybe it was just like I used to work when I worked at the hotel in America, people are getting fired all the time. So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so thanks, Joyce. If you feel stressed or depressed, may be a sign that you should move to another workplace. I agree. Hmm. Luna says sometimes it's better to resolve problems in an indirect way. Sometimes it's okay. If I were you, I would talk to someone in the office. Talk to maybe the manager. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine. Talk with like someone about it who can do something about it. But I think harassing the poor girl is not the way to go. Hmm. All right, so Jenny says that some people just want to get paid with minimum effort. But do we need to blame them? Yeah, that's true. Guys, let's be honest. For the majority of people on planet Earth, we're always taught that we should grow up and we should pursue a job that we love and we should be passionate. And once we get a job that we love, we'll never have to work in a day in our life because we love our job so much. However, the reality is most people just work for the salary. They work to put food on the table for their family. Everybody's just trying their best, right? So, should we blame them? Yeah, think about it. So one person says that at first I thought that Jane was the problem, but now I found this is completely one side of the story. She may have her own issue or situation. Yes, and that's one of the things I don't like about people talking behind your back. It's because they don't hear your side of the story, so we don't know what Jane is going through. And I know that it's not an excuse, but maybe Jane is going through a hard time in her personal life. She could struggle with depression or something like that. It's not an excuse. I know excuses are bad. If you give people too many excuses, they will be annoyed. I know, but sometimes there is a legitimate excuse, right? Yeah, it's hard. Both of them did wrong. I know. That's, I know, I totally agree. Okay. So I'm going to share with you my idea about this. Branden's response. To whom it may concern, it is obvious that you dislike Jane for many reasons. Just keep in mind that she is a person like you who deserves a certain level of respect, regardless of her work performance or personal qualities. Okay, so everybody needs a bare minimum respect. Your first mistake was letting her bother you so much. You can't control who your coworkers are, but you can control how you respond to the situation. You are letting your anger and annoyance build up over time. That doesn't hurt Jane. It only hurts you. It's a self-destructive path. You have to let go of your anger, even when faced with less than ideal circumstances. Your second mistake is how you have been treating Jane. The way you've been treating her is basically workplace harassment. It is not appropriate to go out of your way to make someone's life so uncomfortable that they quit their job. If you do this, you are contributing to a toxic work environment. It's just not okay. It's not. Part of being an adult is learning how to get along with other people, even when they don't carry their own weight. Sometimes we just have to endure. I hope this helps. Branden Noland, that's me. All right. So do you agree with my response, guys? Do you agree? If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, just to end our discussion, we have some more questions, which I think may be interesting to talk about. So I'll share those with you. Alrighty, so just move these over. All right, so the question is, first of all, do you agree with me? Please answer that. Also, what would you do if you had to work on a project with someone who didn't pull their own weight? And in your field, is it easy to get fired? Have you ever been fired? If you're comfortable sharing that information, it may be interesting to talk about. Okay, when we are back. Okay. Luna says, I can fire myself in this field. Yeah, so if you're a freelancer, you can have the ability to take jobs or not to take jobs. Now that's good or bad. Yeah. Yeah, I'll go first. To be honest, guys, I don't think I've never been fired before. I never have. I always leave. I always quit. So I've never been fired. But it does happen, and I think that it's not a bad thing if it happens. It's just a life experience. If something is uncomfortable, I think it makes you stronger, right? So if you have a bad experience, I think it should be a source of pride. As long as it doesn't happen over and over again. If it's a habit, if you're dysfunctional, then maybe you need to make some changes here. I don't know. Yeah. The next two questions are, have you ever seen someone else get fired? Yeah, I've seen people get fired. When I worked at the high school, there were some teachers who didn't get renewed. That's pretty much the same thing as not getting fired. Their contracts expire, and the school just decides not to renew their contract. They just hire someone else. Yeah, so that happened. When I worked at the hotel, several people got fired because they were late to work too many times. They didn't show up to work. It's usually because they didn't show up. Very irresponsible. Luna, I want to sort of piggyback off of what you just said. I don't think going above and beyond is important because too much work is less than less. Now, actually, it's a little hard for me to understand, but what I think you mean is that if you go above and beyond, it just makes more work for yourself. And the people who do the bare minimum, you're doing more work than they are. So to some extent, I agree with you that, especially from what I've seen in workplace culture, when you go above and beyond, a lot of the times it's not rewarded, is it? You're not going to be paid more money. Your salary's not going to go up in comparison to the other people. So, but you'll have more work. So if your work environment is like that, where you're making more work for yourself, then maybe you should reevaluate going above and beyond. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. So you've seen some people get fired due to serious problems like harassment, drug problems, fights. So Jenny, I have a feeling this must not have been in Korea because I don't think drugs are really a problem in Korea. So it must have been a different country, right? I can believe that in North America, for example. All right. So N says if somebody didn't pull his weight, you would request more salary than somebody who didn't do his job well. And that's one approach, yeah. And I hope that you do get a higher salary. You deserve it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, going above and beyond is important if you want to get promoted. That is true. If you think that hey, I'm only going to have this job for a year, it doesn't matter, then it really doesn't matter, does it? Yeah, so true. Yeah, that's what I thought, a US company. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, guys, well, we're just about out of time. Thank you so much for all of your comments. And I think it was productive. And yeah, hopefully those words that we learned today will help you. Very common in day-to-day conversation, so can't help to practice. It couldn't hurt to practice, I should say. And yeah, we're gonna end it here. Unless someone has some questions to me, I'll be here for maybe another minute or two. Oh yeah, so in America, it depends on what job it is. It's not standard. So some people may have to do a drug test. I would imagine people with high levels of responsibility. Perhaps if you were a police officer or if you were I don't know, maybe a nurse. Actually, I'm not sure. I've never been in that situation before, but it is possible. Yeah. Oh, thanks, guys. I hope you have a great weekend. Stay warm and healthy. I know it's raining outside, but be well, guys. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. All right, guys. Take care. See you later.